Hello.
Hey Andrew, it's Kenny. How's it going?
Hey, Kenny. It's Andrew. Yeah. Sorry, man. I was trying to call you, but I have no
Yeah.
reception in Maui. So I have to actually
Oh,
call you
okay.
like near this huge waterfall that's happening.
It's all good, man. It's all good. We were just talking. Me and Katie were just talking. You got
Uh
a
huh.
new album on the way. You got plenty
I
of
do.
music. So from your side, man, talk about the collaboration with you and Katie. She said a lot of good things about you, just so you know.
Oh gosh. You know, sweetheart.
Just
It's
let's talk
wonderful. Quite
about
the time.
let's talk about the collaboration. What was it like having her on this album?
Yeah. The collaboration just came about by almost by accident. I hadn't seen Katie or talked to her in quite some time. She was just doing her family and keeping herself off of social media for the longest time. So I had put a filler out there to get somebody to sing on this song called High Tide. Originally, it was called The Tide. And I got a couple of people who are folks, singers hitting me up on Facebook. And then out of the blue, she reached out to my wife to get a hold of me. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I finally get Katie back. So I hit up Katie and I said, hey, Katie, I've been like trying to get a hold of you. All your phone numbers don't work. And I said, I got this song. I just want to see if you'd be down because she's worked with me in the past with a previous song, which was more of an EDM house music type of track. And she was, open ears, like, what do you got for me? Send it over. I sent it to her and she's like, I love it. I said, well, let's get you over this weekend and see if we can get things going. And she got a babysitter and was able to have a nice little session with me. We were able to play catch up and took her out to lunch. And then she just, I showed her the lyrics and she put it together really nicely. And we had, so she's a falsetto, so she could really, or not falsetto, I think it's soprano. She's got a really high voice and she was able to really sing the song exactly the way I wanted it. And if you listen to the last song on the album, which is the title track, High Tide, she just nailed it. And it was really, really awesome working with her. And I can't wait to take her live on stage with this song. I actually play guitar, bass, and produce the whole thing. And I really needed her on here. That was the final touch, just the she on top of the album. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
it was a pleasure working with her, though, for sure.
so due to technical difficulties, we was unable to get you both on at the same time. But Katie, if you're
Mm.
still listening, thank you so much for being on. And go check out the album by California from Katie Fry. And go check out Andrew's new album, which is coming out tonight, literally, and
Actually, no. It comes out on the 24th.
on
There
the
was a
24th.
misprint in. Yeah, today is the pre-release on Track Source. You can pick it up on Track Source, but on the 24th is where it's released everywhere.
Okay,
Next
gotcha.
Friday.
So I do have the song with you and Katie called High Tide, and I'm going to be playing that
Yeah.
after I conclude my interview with you. So
Okay.
now that I'm with you for the next 13 to 15 minutes, let's
Sweet.
dive into all things
Okay.
Andrew. So I see you got your start. You got started with playing bass guitar and piano at a very young age. You
Mm-hmm.
got into the 90s, prior to the electronic and house music that you're known for now. Just talk about
Mm-hmm.
your music journey as far as going from, and you also make beats too. So you producer obviously. So talk about your
Yeah.
musical journey. What led you into being a musical producer?
Yeah. Well, all those years of playing out and touring with my band Unique, we were on an independent label called Ohm Records, and what got me into producing and mixing and mastering myself is I was kind of tired of going into somebody else's studio and having them engineer it to make it sound the way we want it to sound. It's like, oh, the kick's too loud or it's too soft, it's not pumping enough, the vocals don't sound right. Oh, let's re-record this. So I took all the money I had from all the touring, bought a house up north in Sacramento, California, And the band we dismantled. We all kind of went our own ways. But I decided to build my own studio, start my own record label called Freaky Music Group. And I decided to do mix and mastering, and I wanted to produce my own music. And on top of all that, I still produce house music. It's my passion, my love for it. But I wanted to slow things down. I wanted to give people another side of my musical abilities, and that was more music representation, guitar, bass, kalimbas, djembes, tambourines, like a lot of instruments to make up that I was really looking for. And that's where I came up with the album Conceptualize, which was released on January 8th of this year. And I had so much leftover music that I had to write another one called High Tide. I've never done anything like that. I've never written I just never produced two albums in one year, or an album at all. I've always produced other people, and I wanted to put the face behind the name, and that, because I've always produced other albums and mixed and mastered, and this is basically my two little babies I came out with during COVID. And I'm hoping everyone gravitates to this new sound, which is kind of like lo-fi, hip-hop, synthy wave type of music. So I hope everyone can take a listen fully all the way through, because it does take you on a journey with Conceptualize, and I take it back down to earth, with High Tide.
Yeah, so you released your first solo album this past January.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah.
next album is coming out on the 24th.
Of September.
So yeah, of September. So people got their different tastes in music. Different vibes, different feels, expression,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I'm into electronic and house music, especially it feels different when it comes to the weekends. Like you go to a club, you as your friends, getting a drink or two,
sure.
and you hear that music,
Mm-hmm.
that adrenaline, like waiting for that beat drop, everybody's fist pumping and stuff. How would you describe the vibe when it comes to, the electronic and house music from your perspective? How would you describe, that adrenaline as it pertains to electronic and house music from your perspective?
Sure. When I entered the house music scene, we started off. My band Unique started off as kind of like the brand new heavies, where we were hip hop, R&B with the singer and all that stuff. And I always liked the house music world. Back then EDM wasn't a thing. There was no such thing as electronic dance music. I came in at an early time. It was called house music, and I'm talking about Chicago, San Francisco house, deep house. Chicago house music type of house, that underground house scene with Mark Farina, Derek Carter, and I grew up around all the major players like Arturo Garces, Joey Youngman, who's now Wolfgang Gartner out there. He's crossed over to the EDM world. So for me, I wanted to portray that electronic dance music, that underground house with the soulful singer, kind of like D-Light, and bring it to the stage as a live performance. You wouldn't believe how many times I played in Miami or, down south in San Diego and Santa Monica, where people were like, "Where's the DJ?" I'm like, "Dude, we're playing this live." Like I got a computer. I got two other members of the band, Jessica Marquez and her brother, Joshua Marquez on the guitar. And we're like flipping the script live. We're using Logic Pro, like full on. So the vibe for us was more underground house music. We weren't the fist pumping type of group. That came a little later toward the very end of our group, before we dismantled. We got into sidechain compression and started making it a little bit harder, kind of like Justice, but to me, my roots are still with the Chicago house music scene. I really like that underground house, deep house sound, and that's where I'm really rooted from. And there's one song on the album that you'll be able to hear a little bit of that, where it gets a little deep, and I wanted to keep my fans tangled up in some of the music roots that I had, and mixed up in this lo-fi type of album that you'll be hearing soon.
So with your new album, High Tide,
right.
Talk about, obviously we already know Katie is on the album.
Right.
Who else? Some of the other artists that you have collaborated on this upcoming album.
Sure. And just like you guys are going to be hearing it for the first time, it's still very, very new to me. I basically pumped this album out in 6 months. Starting with the first track, it's called Screams. There was a cat that lives right down the street from me. His name is Gonzo Neko. He's a lo-fi artist. He's also on my music label. I just released his album, What a Day. He has a track on my album. We collabed on it. It's a very beautiful theatrical type of piece. It starts off with piano, and it just gets the mood started. Going into the next few songs, I have a track called Monday, and that's originally it was going to be a 5-song EP: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but it ended up just spinning into this 15 track album. So Monday has one of the dudes from Shaw Brothers. I think I want to say they're from North Carolina, maybe. I had never met the guy. I actually met him through some other artists that I was working with and collaborated with. And that brings me to Roving Jewel. He's another artist on the album. He's worked with cats like Dianai, who just passed away. God bless his soul. He worked with Dianai. And I got my wife, who's also on a track called I Need Your Love, with another guy from Sacramento. His name is Gabriel Lozano. They call him Runt Rock. He's part of Live Mannequins from Sacramento. They're a hip-hop group. They're also on my music label. And then I have a song called Enchantment, which features my daughter, Sophia Lozano. She does oohs and ahs, and it's really a fun track. It's beautiful, actually. It's really, really beautiful. Another artist that's on there, let's see, I'm trying to remember all the tracks. I'm not in front of my computer right now. Oh, God, what is it? Let's see. Man, you have the track list in front of you, right?
Yeah, I do. So you definitely have a variety of artists out there, and you also have family in there. So
my wife and my daughter, who's 11. Yeah.
Wow, 11 years old. Wow. Okay.
She's
Okay.
11. Yeah, she just did some oohs and ahs on there, but she had an idea. She likes to hum a lot. She wants to get into singing. So I thought, you know what, 11 years old. I wish I was 11 years old and had something published. And now she's got something that she can call her own. That's going to be out there for the rest of her life. And I hope to work with her a lot more. She's a very talented musician herself. She plays flute. And my wife, who's never sang in her life, but she sings in the shower. I hear her all the time. She's got a great voice. She's pretty. She's Latina. I said, baby, you got to come in the studio. And she rocked it on the mic. The first time out, she nailed it. I didn't have to auto-tune her or nothing. There's a little bit of pitch correction here and there like every producer would do to make it sound transparent with the music. But, yeah, that's called I Need Your Love, and that's kind of like our song together on the album. It wasn't really planned that way. It just, sometimes when the vibe is right, you start to pull in that energy from other souls. Like in this case, I had other people I worked with on this album, including Katie, and the collaborations just came out so beautiful, and I'm just really happy about this one.
Yeah, this is such an incredible album that I'm looking forward to hearing. And with you being a producer, so I've been doing this show for quite some time. And now, because of my support with local music here in Kentucky and independent music around the world, I got a lot of connections. And I'm starting to play beats from other artists and producers and stuff, like an intro or outro. And I definitely like to use an Andrew Lozano beat for like maybe a future intro, depending on who I'm interviewing. It's gotta match with the vibe of the artist that I'm interviewing. So you definitely
Yeah.
So I've definitely got to play.
If you listen to the first album, Conceptualize, you'll see I was going for that lo-fi hip-hop-ish type of sound. It was really just for fun. I wasn't thinking about an album when I put these songs together, and COVID had just hit. And I remember sitting in the backyard, I was working from home because I work for a major tech company. And I was like, I'm going. I was a song every single week, like one, mix and master, almost 2 songs a week. And that's that. So Conceptualize just poured right out of me. I got to say that High Tide, this album that's releasing next week, was the hardest thing I've ever done. I put my heart and soul into it. and I'm really into like bands like Bonobo, which is an electronic artist, and Tycho from Sacramento. These guys are very instrumental to my album. In fact, I got to meet one of them, which is Scott Hansen from Tycho, real briefly, and he actually remembered me from a conversation he was having about gear on Instagram. It was a trip. But I mean, those were my influences right there. The hip hop stuff, I always liked the lo-fi hip hop, but I didn't want to do like too tape saturated. I wanted people to be able to bump it in their cars, you know, and hear that bass. And the side chain, I use gating a lot instead of compression to get my side chaining going. So you get that thing action. It really draws you in, you know. So you listen to Conceptualize and you'll bump High Tide and you'll see the journey I'm going on.
So speaking of your first album, I played a song from that album earlier today, and I'm trying to figure out what song was it. Living the Life. That was the song that I played. That is your most streamed song off the album. And it's got a very familiar sample to that particular song. So definitely bring back some old times per se.
For sure.
Yeah. So go check out the album Conceptualize by Andrew Lozano. That's available on all the platforms. Be on the lookout for the High Tide album that's coming out on the 24th of September. And I have the privilege of playing a song off the new album, and it's entitled High Tide, and it's featuring the previous guest on the show, Miss Katie Fry. So both Sacramento representing for the city, representing for the genres. Of course, Andrew from the producer, beat making side, and from Katie from the musician, recording artist side. Y'all definitely gel very well on this High Tide joint, and I can't wait to play this song before we conclude tonight's interview. Oh, and you can check him out on all the social media platforms as well. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I see you also. In addition to to your profession as a producer, you got your very own studio. We gotta talk about that. Talk about just being able to have your own studio and people coming to your studio and recording tracks, man. What was the whole process like in getting your very own studio?
Well, 13 years old, my mom had taken a picture of my room, and my dad was livid because I went into his living room and stole all the equipment and speakers because I wanted to create my own little studio because I saw a studio by Jimi Hendrix, you know what I mean, on TV, on PBS or something like that. So that was something that was in the back of my mind as I was traveling with my band. I was like, I'm going to do my own studio. And like I mentioned earlier, I was so sick and tired of people trying to produce what I had in my head. And it just never came out right. They're using Pro Tools and all these effects with wave plugins and stuff, and it just never came out right, for me. But if you listen to the albums, you'll hear what I'm saying when listen to some of the house music albums I have on vinyl. So about 11, 12 years ago, I decided to, drop about, $10,000 on my garage, and I converted it, sound tampering and all that stuff, bought speakers, bought 2 computers, bought all the DJ setup, and I decided to make a real comfortable environment, and I named it Freaky Music Group, Freqy Music Group. And on Conceptualize, there's a song called Living the Life that DJ Carl Lorado, he actually is the one who gave me the name Freaky Music Group because we're thinking like Sony Music Group, and so it stuck with me, and I've got the logo down and opened up shop in Elk Grove, California, which is 20 minutes from Sac. And my first actual group that I produced was Live Mannequins out of Sacramento. They were an up-and-coming hip-hop group, and they worked with Hieroglyphics and DJ Rated R, like all these huge underground hip-hop artists. And I just decided to open shop, and I haven't looked back. And it all started because my wife had lost her job. She was pregnant, and we needed some extra cash in our pockets. And I said, babe, you know what? Put this money in the studio. I'm going to start opening shop. Started charging cash, just trying to get kids off the street. A lot of kids are in the hood, have some ideas. They want to go to the street, and they need something published. come to me, and then I'll make you sound good, and then and that's really where it comes from, just was that starving musician girl. I had nobody to hand it to me, so I opened up Freaky Music Group in 2011 and haven't looked back.
That's awesome. That's definitely a great story. Obviously, when you go to
Hmm.
somebody else's studio,
Yeah.
sometimes you don't necessarily get the music. You don't get your vision doesn't match what the studio is trying to put out. So sometimes in life, you gotta take matters into your own hands, literally. So,
Yeah,
like, def-
I gotta say, the artists who come into my studio, I make them feel very, very comfortable because I listen to the artists first. They tell me what they want,
mhm.
and we work hard at it. You're not going to pay somebody to go in there. You only have 2 hours, and then you work with an engineer, and you don't know them. We grow we grow a relationship, and that relationship is really important in the studio. You have to feel comfortable. You come in there with a vision. You're going to leave with a product that you can sell, and it's very real, it's very tangible, and that means a lot. That energy needs to be portrayed in the music, and you have to have that relationship with the artist and the producer, and that's where I come in. And a lot of cats out there will vouch for me and tell you that I'm the one out here in Elk Grove that's making waves, if you will. No pun intended.
I think that's a nice way to end the interview right there. So
Yeah.
check out Andrew Conceptualize. The album from January is on the platforms. Go stream it, go buy it, go support that project, and go check out the High Tide album coming out on the 24th next week. Plenty of artists
Hmm.
on there. Got his own, got the wife on there, got the daughter on
Hmm.
there. It's a family
Right.
feel to it.
Hmm.
So go check it out as well. Katie is on there, and a plethora of other local artists is on there as well. Support local musicians, y'all. Support them.
Hmm.
Give them that energy. Give them that love. Andrew, man, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Given the circumstances,
Hmm.
I wish we could have you and Katie on, but
Oh,
circumstances said otherwise. But luckily,
yeah.
I do Zoom interviews, so who knows? Maybe if y'all do future collaborations, we can do it via Zoom. We'll probably have a better
Yeah.
outcome than tonight.
I'm down. Whenever.
So, so thanks again, Andrew. Continued success. I'm looking forward to the new album. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks, Kenny. I appreciate you, man.
All right,
All
man.
right.
You have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right. Peace out.
All right, man.